Hey guys, my name is Kitten Pauws. So as you know, this past weekend I went to Anime Detour. If you don't know what that is, it's basically just a con here in Minnesota. So I thought I'd show you this video of a Q&A that happened with J Michael Tatum. Enjoy!
But yeah, so if you've watched like any of the YouTube videos people take of me doing panels and stuff, ask a question that someone hasn't asked before. I'll talk for a long time on any subject. You may notice. I can riff whether I know what I'm talking about or not. So, oh, your hand's up. Yes.
For both script writing and for voice acting, how's it different now in the dub cast world?
But say that again to make sure I understand your question.
Both script writing and for voice acting, how is it different now from the past to now the dub cast world?
Oh, you mean like since simuldubs have come on board? How it's different? Nothing's changed. So okay, this is conversation. Thank you for opening with a hardball question. Who here knows what a simuldub is? Awesome. All of you do. You just don't know. A simuldub is what you watch now. If Funimation did it, it's a simuldub, meaning that it comes out, the English language dub comes out within a week or two of the original Japanese premiere. Now, some of you, I remember a time when you would wait like a year for the dub to come out, and the whole series would come out, or it would stagger out in like 6-episode blocks, and you'd wait like a year, like, oh, who's gonna play it? There's all this hype, and it's really fun, and you're also really impatient. And by the time that show came out in dub, you'd already moved on to some other obsession. So you may watch it, you may not. So some of them are really cool. Even the standpoint is like now it comes out so quickly that everyone watches it like immediately, and there's kind of a sense of like, oh yeah, I just worked on an episode, and there's already a conversation going on about it among fans, which is cool. I don't have to wait forever to be like, oh yeah, that show I did a year ago, cool. Now we can finally talk about it. That's really fun. From a scripting standpoint, and I've been a writer for Funimation for 15 years and adapted a lot of their shows. And in the old days, pre-simuldub, which has been the norm now for about 2.5, 3 years, in the old days, the head writer would give me, a lead writer, that's the next guy down on the totem pole, like, here's a show, write this, establish a tone, I'll give you a team of writers that will kind of, you'll leapfrog episodes and whatever, and so you'll write episode 1, Patrick Seitz maybe will be with you, he'll write 2, and then 2, no. We used to have about a week, maybe, well, sometimes it was 2 weeks, depending on, but they wanted the perfect translation to come in and have all the materials and licensing stuff from Japan, so we know what the terms are and what does the original creator want us to, what are all the boxes we have to check to make sure Japan's happy and that we can still produce a good dub. And so we usually have about 2 weeks to write a 23-minute, 25-minute script. Simuldubs now, we have 16 hours. And you only have access to that episode, because while you're working on the adaptation for episode 1, they're making episode 2 in Japan. And if you're lucky to work with a licensor or a creator that's really communicative and it's like, oh, here's what's going to happen, this is going to happen, this person's actually going to turn out to be the villain, blah, 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 then you're golden. But it doesn't happen like that very often. Most of the time it's like we ask a question and they're too busy actually working on the show to answer us. So we go, we're just going to try to write this in a way that doesn't paint us into a corner if it turns out not to be good. And we have to, and all that for like, and I say 16 hours, it's 2 working days, which ends up being 16 hours of paid writing time, because if it takes you longer than that, that's just work you did for free. So it's crazy, and it's fun when you're paid well. When you're not paid well, funny, it's like any other job. When you're paid well, you can make the most of it. When you're not paid very well, you're like, fuck that. There's my one F-bomb. I think I have 3 of them for this to be PG-13, right? Is that the rule? Like 3 F-bombs? Cool, I got 2 more to go. So the writing is really, really difficult. I don't do it anymore, incidentally, because the simuldub thing, it just got too, I missed my life. I was like, oh, I have to write 2 scripts a week for different shows, and I would have to just chain myself to my writing desk. Like I have a quill. Close the windows. But I just got to the point where I wrote for about 2 years like that, and I just got burned out. I couldn't do it anymore, and then they just decided to sort of restructure how they wanted all the writers to be internal salaried positions, and I was like, no, I have to give up too much to do that, because then I'm not available to do auditions or voice act or go to cons, so I was like, writing was fun, but no. For example, Steins, which is one of my all-time favorite shows. It was a weird experience because I got to write it with Patrick Seitz, who's one of my favorite people to work with in the business. He's just a delightful person and a just amazing writer. And we had so much fun working on that show together. And then I got to be cast in it, which was insane. And that was crazy and an emotional journey, which I've talked about elsewhere, and I'll talk about again if you want. And then Steins Gate Zero happened 7 years right as they're restructuring the writing process. So all of us were like, but I mean, Patrick and I are going to get to write Zero, right? They're like, oh, no. I'm like, okay. Which, I mean, not to justify the corporate decision, because man, corporate, but man, it put me in a good headspace to play that Okabe. Because I was just sad and pissed off every day. I went, oh, good, that's exactly where he is. We are simpatico.
Method actor.
Yeah, method, yeah. So, and for actors, it's kind of weird because now we're on call. We don't know what our line count is going to be. Line count is how they base how many hours they need you in. Like, so most studios will be like, cool. So let's say you get paid by the hour to voice act because your contract, and that hour, what constitutes an hour is the number of lines. So for most people, it's about 30 lines an hour. For me, it's 70, but I still get that. But I get paid for like the 30 hours for 30 lines. So if I get done. If I can do 3 hours worth of work in 30 minutes, I get paid for 3 hours. That's just the benefit of being, fast. And then they can move on and do other things, so they save a little money that way. But you get called in for this amount of hours, and normally when the whole show is done in Japanese, and we know kind of what the whole arc looks like, when you're cast, you have a rough idea of what your 6 months is going to look like. Oh, cool, that's going to be this amount of money. Okay, and I'm probably going to come in like this, and you don't know. One day you go in for like, oh, cool, we need you for 8 hours on this episode. Cool, awesome, I'm clearly a main character. Oh, I die in episode 2, never mind. I thought that was going to be a nice paycheck, and it's just one. So and you don't know, and it's really interesting, and it really limits your travel, because you have to like we all sign contracts at the beginning of the season saying we're available, and if we're not, they go, cool, we can't cast you. That means like if you just miss one day, they're like, we can't cast you in this then because we need you here, and if you can't make it, then we have to get someone who is. So it's a little stressful. There are some benefits that come with it. Like you guys get to see it really early and see the stuff, and it's really nice because it's kind of crushed the sub-V dub argument because everyone's watching the dub now. Because it comes out at the same time, which is fine. And it's as an actor, it's kind of fun because, as an actor, I like to be very present in the booth anyway and not have very much information because it keeps me right here and it keeps me very reactive, just like the character should be. So I'm reacting. So if they're surprised, so am I, because I didn't see it coming either. And it's just as an actor, it's a great place to be. So I love the simuldub process as an actor. As a writer, I'm not a fan. And as a director, who you couldn't pay me enough to do it. There's some really great people that work in the industry as directors that are able to just crank out those simuldubs and do a really good job. I am not one of them. I'm the person that will work for one of those people. So thank you. I hope you all got an education on site. So, please. Feed the animals. Yes.
I wanted to ask, have you ever met, you obviously have 300 roles, have you ever met any of your Japanese counterparts to any of your roles?
I have not. I have met actors that have worked on, that have worked on that show, and I'll be like, so what's Daisuke Ono really like? But I've never met Daisuke Ono. I don't think he likes flying, so the chances of me actually meeting him are pretty slim. But I did get to talk on the phone very briefly with the guy that played Inaru, or Inel, in One Piece, and that was a big role for me because that was my first role as a full-time voice actor when I made the leap. And I met the creator for Italia, the original creator. So funny story, we met on a panel. It was me and like 5 other actors on the English side, and it was like 4 actors of seiyuu on the Japanese side, and the creator producer. And we had a team of interpreters, and it was all live, and it was really a lot of fun. And at some point, I was asked to tell the Snuggie story, which is the one where I couldn't find the French accent, and I just randomly put on the blue Snuggie that was, I think, Caitlin Glass had left in the booth from her session. And so I put it on, and boom, the accent appeared. I just needed to wear something ridiculous. It's just a reverse coat, that's all it is. And so thereafter, the show's dub director made me wear that every time I was in the booth as France. Even 4 or 5 seasons later, they'd always have the little Snuggie in their folder on the shelf for me. I'm like, oh guys, he's like, put it on. Right, you're contractually obligated to wear the Snuggie when you record. There's still like a locker somewhere in Funimation just in case Morse comes on where they're like, here's the Snuggie. So I told that story, and I have, mind you, there's always a bit of a lag because the interpreter, even if it's simul interpreting, has to be like, okay, say this, whatever. And this Japanese guy, the producer, I cannot think of his name, is sitting there and he's just kind of like looking at me. And then kind of asking, I can, from the body language, it's clear that what he's just said to the interpreter is like, say that again? Really? And he looks at me, and there's this long pause as everyone's trying to soak up, like, what did he say? Because there's a lot of opportunities in that story for misinterpretation, and like, did he just tell them, no, they make him wear a baby calf every time he goes in. America's odd. They're too method. And so he just looks at me, and there's this awkward pause, and he just starts going, which is very gratifying. Like 2 years later, more Hatalia came down the wire, and there was like blink and you'll miss it moment where they're all having a slumber party, and France is wearing a Snuggie. Everyone else is in their PJs, and he's wearing a Snuggie, and it was like just a little, like, it's a cutaway joke, and then they're back, and I was like, and I don't even have a line, it was in my pre-roll for a line I had when the cutaway is over, and I'm sitting there, and then Scott Sager was the director, and I'm just like, okay, I'm doing my line, what is that? Go back, he's wearing a Snuggie. And I was like, picture. Oh, did we do that? So that's been, I'm not sure that any seiyuu is ever going to like compare to like the guy actually hearing my story and making actually and it has like a little heart on it. Yes, you.
Okay, so you say you don't like favorite questions, so what do you think was your worst role?
The one I haven't played yet. I don't have a worst role. I have roles that I've played where I'm like, oh, if that was a real person, I would want nothing to do with them. But playing them is a privilege because they're an integral part of the story. So it's always an honor to play a character, especially bad guys, because without them, there's no story. It's just like, oh, this really awesome person goes around having their day, whatever. You need a villain, or the antagonist. Antagonists are they're in their mind, they're the hero of their own story. So you just have to play it like that. You can't play them evil. But I've never had a bad role. I'm sure some people will disagree with that. But as an actor, I love it too much. I've never had a role that I'm like, God, I hate this. Because that's an asshole thing to be. Like, I don't want to be that person that's like, here, I'm getting paid good money to do this job that's really fun to work with friends, and there are so many people that would kill to just be here, and I stoop to be here today because I don't love this. He doesn't speak to me. It's like, acting is about using your imagination, and if I can't find something to love about a character that I'm playing, even if I'm not the target audience for the show that I'm in, which is frequently the case, like, I still have to do the best I can for the people it is for. Otherwise, I'm in the wrong business, and it's a failure of my own imagination. So, and I should, like, I don't know, go back to retail or something. Hey, I got some serious acting chops working retail. Yeah, sure, I love that. Let me help you. So I've never had a worst role, honestly, and every role is the real reason I can't choose my favorite is because my favorite role is what I'm working on right now. I try to be very present about it and let, once a role is done or I'm finished with it, I'm like, cool, I kind of let it go. I give it a bit of a Viking funeral and like let it go out of the world and have all you lovely people to sustain it because I've done my part. So, but thank you.
The Vikings set him on fire.
Yes.
All right, Steins Gate.
Hang on.
So, how do you prepare for a role like Okabe?
You don't. I wish. I don't know. I wish. So Okabe. It's fucking Friday, not 2. It's Friday. I'm already gonna cry. Okabe is one of those characters that is so. There's just no preparing for a role like that. It's too real. It's just like, you're just gonna have to, just like him, like he's prepared for nothing. It's like everything that happens to him, he just has to catch up. He's always out of sync with reality, and that's his story. And at first it's metaphorical, and then it gets, oh, I'm actually out of sync with reality, and I have to change all these things, or people are gonna die that I love. And I will say, when Patrick Seitz and I were working on the scripts together, we had so much fun, and we were like, oh, this is such a good, we are the audience for this show. Like this is totally up our alley. And we decided as writers that we were going to just pull out everything. Like we were going to take out all the stops and just throw everything we could. Like we're going to throw in bits of poetry. We're going to throw in references to Doctor Who and Star Trek and all of it, because it was that brilliant kind of show. I mean, the show itself is just so good. Before any English entity touched it whatsoever, the show was already absolutely perfect. And our job is to try to keep it as perfect and just give it a home in English. That's it. And so, but there's so much we can do here. So we were both writing, for example, Okabe's dialogue, and being like, man, I do not envy the poor bastard that has to breathe life to this, because they're going to have to bring their baby. Oh shit, it's me. Which is not the idea. I did not write that role for myself. Don't like writing things for myself, because it's really stressful. Because then I go in the booth and if it doesn't work, there's no one to blame but me. I can't be like, who wrote this? And as a writer, I can't be like, oh, Tatum keeps just mangling my words. Damn it. So it was really insane. And for what I wasn't prepared for, I mean, the acting bit of it, actually showing up, getting the booth and saying the words and having them be real, I did that every day. So there's no preparation necessary. I just have to get out of my own way. But the preparation that I should have made, which I didn't, was, you're just gonna be this guy for 6 months because you're gonna be in the booth every day, or just about every day, for hours and hours at a time, and then come home and have to write a script, because that was the schedule. The first 4 scripts were written before they started recording, and then as they start recording those, we're working on the next 4. So then then it's staggered. And think about it. It's a show about a guy who's revisiting the same things over and over again in different iterations. So I'm really confused. I'll be like, wait, I thought I did this. I did a week ago when I was writing it. Never mind. God, this is too real for me now. My home office looked like I was writing about how the moon landing was fake or something. Post-it notes everywhere, little lines leading to them. Was it Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Charlie has that whole it's this, and I was like this all the time. And all my friends were like, "What's happening?" I'm like, "You're just gonna have to deal with this. This is who I am now." And because of that, I had a breakdown in the booth one afternoon. I don't think I've told the story, because I told it here, so you may not know. But there's an episode, and for those of you that haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil anything. That was really hard to spoil that show. You can know everything and still be hit in the feels every time you watch it, because it holds up to rewatches really well. Anyway, there's a scene in, I don't remember the episode number, because I don't think in episode numbers, it's just part of the larger story, but I'll just say he's in the back seat of the car. Yeah, everyone's triggered. And he, for the first time, he is 100% no bullshit. He's a character who is fascinating, because you get pretty early on that he's this arrogant, guy. He's brilliant, but he doesn't fit in. He doesn't really know himself very well. And his friends love him, but they kind of tolerate him because he's a bit much. And we've all either known people like that or been people like that. And you realize it comes from this is all just a protective coating that he wears, because he doesn't fit in, because he's just afraid. He doesn't like himself very much, and figures no one else does either. So he's an arrogant asshole. And for the first time, when things get real in that show, he is literally crying and risking his own life to try to save someone else, even though he knows it's fruitless. And he is crying, and basically everything he says to Moeka is look, I'm nothing, I'm shit, just don't do this thing. And that's the hardest thing for him to say, because it's the one thing that he thinks is true about himself. And so he gets in this place where he's just blah, and the tears, the original Seiyu's performance broke me when I was watching it to adapt the script, and I was and the whole time, I got to sit on that scene for 3 weeks before we were recording it, because I wrote it, and I was I don't know what I'm going to do when I have to do this, because I don't think I have the chops that actor does. I don't know, maybe I'm just going to have to get Colleen Clinkenbeard to just punch me a bunch of times in the balls, and then I can maybe cry. But I didn't know what to do, and so I got in, and I was and I just got sucked up in it. And for me, the stakes were suddenly so very real for what he was going through that I just started blubbering. For real, and I was trying to fight it so hard. I'm not one of these self-indulgent actors that look at me crying, you guys, I'm crying, it's so real. It's far more, and for some people it's just very easy to cry. It's not for a lot of us, but it is easy to try not to cry. And then every fucking time, there's my third one. And then every time, it's more compelling because you see someone, it's so much to watch someone go, ah! You're like, okay, cool, and popcorn. But if you see someone trying really hard not to cry, some part of you goes, oh, you can feel it. It like starts from here, just goes. It's a technical term. So that it happened to me, and I just started losing it. But I wouldn't let go of the line, so I kept saying it, and it kept going on with the script. I mean, I wrote it, so I knew what to say, even though I couldn't see it through my tears. And finally, I was like, bah! And I just kind of collapsed in the corner into the literal fetal position because I was just so done. I hadn't slept well, and all this. It was so emotional, and I'm just kind of sitting there. And then Colleen was like, Tatum? Colleen, the director, by the way, phenomenal to work with. And I was like, yeah. It had devolved into that ugly, like, and crying at you after you've been punished by your parents. And you're like, nobody loves me. So we were there. It was 100%. You know, it's real because it's like, no one cries like this to look good. She was like, you need to take a break. Why don't you go splash some water in your face and stuff? So I did. I was like walking around the building like, you're like, oh, Tatum's here again. And then I came back in and kind of steeled myself to do another take. And then Colleen was like, well, we have a choice to make because everything you did actually works. So if you don't want to do this again and you're comfortable with everyone knowing what you actually sound like, having a nervous breakdown, we can just do that. I'm like, do that, I don't want to do it. So now, and it wound up with a great plug for Steins. I'm like, hey, you guys want to hear me lose my shit? Real. And that's in a nutshell like my whole experience of Steins Gate. And when Zero came around, it was like, oh, I gotta do this again. And I was like, oh, okay. And because I wasn't working on it as a writer, I didn't really know what to expect. I was like, whatever, it can't be as bad as what he went through in the first. We're starting there? We're starting like at 10 and we're just gonna go to 15? Like that's the whole show. It's like, oh, he's even wearing black. He's like mourning the whole time. So yeah. Yes, yes, you.
I guess kind of going 180, want to talk about working on Isaac and Machina?
That's like,
There's a good palate cleanser for you. I love Isaac. I love Isaac and Miria. Like they're one of my favorite couples. Just having so much fun. I mean, imagine having so much fun that you don't even know you haven't aged for 80 years. That's a life well spent when you're like, oh my God, we haven't. Babe, we're immortal. Yeah. That's kind of their thing. I've always thought of them as like idiot Time Lords. Give them a TARDIS. Just give them a show where they have a TARDIS, you guys. Yes. Let them be like the Doctor's companion.
yes!
Amazing, man. That's where my head goes. So I would do. It was the first. It's been like 1,000 years ago that show was, and it was really, really wonderful. But at that time, I wasn't really known for playing outlandish characters. I was known for playing the more buttoned-up, dark horse characters like Kilya or I think Sebastian was right around that time. Might have been after. I can't remember. But I was usually the guy that played like the I'm going to talk like this and wear glasses, and you're not really going to know what I feel until the chips are down. That was what I played. You know, it's usually me like standing there. Yeah, it's like usually me standing there with like my hands in my pockets, like being or like like this or something like this. But with Isaac, I'm all over the place. I'm a very physical actor, so when I'm in character. Whatever that means, I tend to get very, like my voice will come out and my body will reflect it because it just does something to the performance, helps it, I find. And Tyler Walker, who I'd worked with many, many times at this point, was like, "This is gonna be fun. It's a good voice for you. Like fun, new territory." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it'll be great." And I love this character. He's super fun and everything. They're kind of the heart of the show, and it's a good show. So it was a delight to go in. But I tend to do a take, and I still do this if I'm playing a very animated character, pun intended. I tend to freeze after a take. In the position I find myself, and so if we have to go back immediately and get that take, because the director's like, oh, one more, because sometimes I work very quick, and if I'm like, said the line is like, hello, what are you doing? I'll just stay like this, because like, oh, one more, just a little longer, okay, and I'll be like, hello, what are you doing? And so I'm already there, my body's kind of already ready to go in that position, because then I don't have to like go back to one, and so I just kind of freeze, and most directors are used to me doing that, most actors would do that too, by the way, so I would do it, and I wouldn't hear anything from Tyler. I'd just be like this. And I'd like, look, and Tyler and his engineer would just be like, we just want to see how long you'll hold that. And it'd be like, as we were doing one line, and I was like doing this. For some reason, I was just like, I was saying the line like this. It just felt like how it would come out. And I turned, and like, Tyler has turned off his mic and taken off because he's just cracking up. Normally you look out, and if their mic is live, you can't hear anything because they're being quiet. They're listening to your performance. Or if they turn it off, they'll be like, yeah, come back in one more time for that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it was good, moving on. But this one, it was like... And I'm like, what? It's the character, leave me alone. So I did that, and they gave me no end of shit for doing that, because they were like, it's just hysterical to watch you make an ass of yourself this way. And then fast forward to like later in that same day, and Isaac and Miri were doing a thing where they're actually doing this. And I was like, and we all were like... And I laughed, and I turned to Tyler, and I was like, thank you. All right, another question. Let's see this side of it. Yes, you shut up. Yes, like you're about to take off. Yes. You're like, hold on.
Sorry. So on Yura and Ice, how did you get into making your character's accent? And can you do it for me?
Oh, no. I'd have to practice. It's the Italian accent, right? So he's just kind of like, I don't know, it's sort of, I can't really do it very well unless I'm sort of thinking about lines. See, now it just sounds like bullshit French. I have to practice. Italian doesn't come naturally to me, so I'm sorry. I know, thank you. I had a really good director too.
Have a Snuggie?
Yeah, no, I think for Italian though, I need like a scooter. And like a little silk scarf that I can be like, ciao.
It's getting
I do know just enough of Italian to be dangerous. It is per cortese abbastanza il papele impacto grosso, which means, please stop, the printer has a paper jam. You want to know something really cool? I have no idea how I know that. It's just in here, and I was like, why is that in here? I've never read it. And it's like in Dante era Italian, so it's not like from the cantos. Please stop, the printer has a paper jam. So yeah, okay, yes, okay. Imposter, sorry.
So, first Scar from Full Metal Alchemist, how was it like taking over the role from Damian Clark?
It was kind of awesome because Damian Clark is my Scar. That was the Scar I watched. And so it was a huge honor. He couldn't do the role. It's not like they were like, he sucks now, so we're giving you the role. It's not how it works. He would have absolutely taken up the role if he could, but he was in the middle of filming a film, which is a lot more money and on the other side of the world, so he couldn't like fly into Funimation for little 2-hour sessions for, voice actor money. It's just not how it worked. So he was like, I'm sure he struggled with the idea, but finally said, I have to decline. And by that time, he had backed off of voice acting a little bit because he was doing a lot of film work, and so I had matched his voice. No one sounds like that. But I sounded enough like him that they're like, we can use you in this role. So they used me in Gunslinger Girl in the second season, which he couldn't reprise his role as Hillshark. And so that gave Mike McFarlane the idea. He was like, hey, when Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood comes down the wire, do you want to be Scar? And I was like, So the cool thing is, because it's a reimagining of it's not like a continuation, it's not a sequel, it's a reimagining and so Scar looks a little different, just a little bit. There's a harder edge to it, and he sounds a little different too, so it works. And I've since met Damian Clark, and we're both like, I love your Scar, I love your Scar. So when I first met him, I thought it would have to be like a fight to the death or something, and I'm like, you will win. I just want you to know that, because again, he's my Scar. But, true story, first time I was so giddy at the idea of playing Scar because I am such a fan of the original franchise, which wrapped just before my time as a voice actor, by the way. So I had no part of the original. But I was like Soldier A or B or something in the Conqueror of Shambhala. I was like, literally, his name was like, to me, he was Ralph and he had a family. And he says like freeze and gets shot and dies, like that's my only line. And I went home that day as a voice actor going, you guys, I am now in Full Metal Alchemist. Made it! 6 years later, like I'm playing Scar and I'm like, oh Oh, well, that's different than Soldier Beam. There's a lot more lines. So we're finding the voice, and Mike was really great about, Mike is such a wonderful director to work with vocally because he knows everything about vocal health and how to keep you healthy. Because Scar is very difficult on your chords. In fact, I lost an octave of my range playing him because it just wears on you, and eventually I'm like, oh, I can't, there's characters I can't play anymore that I could play before I played Scar because my voice just dropped.
Like, so that was that video. If any of you are wondering why it kind of got cut off early is because my battery was dying, so I couldn't film any more footage, so I had to cut it off. But yeah, J Michael Tatum, if you happen to watch this video, slim chance you will, but even though I didn't really get to talk to you very much, it was nice meeting you. And as for the rest of you, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you did. I am on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Discord if you'd like to follow me. If you like what you see here on my channel and want to see faster uploads, consider supporting me on Patreon. It'll really help me out a lot. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!